So welcome everybody, here we are. It is indeed 1900 hours on Monday, July 13th, 2026. And we are 17 or 18 members online. Hi Anne, thanks for being here, welcome. And the members who are online will confirm that I did try to run this one with a video of myself, but I don't have a camera connected to this machine. I was trying to do it from one alongside me, and it gave me some jip. So here we are. I've no way to share me ugly mug with you this evening. Some of the marketing gurus I've been speaking to suggest that you lot seeing my ugly mug might help. I'm doubtful, but we'll see. So tonight I think I've got a good session planned for you. Obviously I've got a chart open in the background there, and some of you can see it's a sort of a minimal DT2 or dynamic edge or DWL3, depending on where you know me from. It might indeed, Judy, it might scare you. Although I do have me blue Realtor Traders t-shirt on, and I'll try and get a camera and put another one of these on, because the blue, I think it suits me. Anyway, tonight's theme, challenge yourself to manage yourself. This might be the answer that some of you are seeking. Something simple, something workable, and still within our rules. Second though, I want to read Anne's Saturday ponderings from July the 4th, with many thanks to Anne for sharing and for the permission to share here with you guys. Group members get to read this on Saturday when she posts it, and so far each and every one, including the one I read from this weekend just gone, has been brilliant. This one though is in tune with my topic for the day, so it's especially relevant to the challenge of managing yourself. I'm going to open a spreadsheet, and then hopefully I'm going to open a spreadsheet, and then after I read Anne's words, I'll explain it more properly. But just one more thing first, something I learned again this weekend. Fear, or a necessary absence thereof. Now a lot of you come to me and you say, I was afraid late entry, I was afraid early exit, I was afraid. Okay. Well, something happened this weekend. We went away. We've been decided a long time ago to do a bit of a staycation, and we went away for the weekend, and you've possibly all seen the pictures on my Facebook page there. Hudson Bay Hotel we were at in Athlone, and there's a beautiful lake, and around the lake there's a harbour, or just right outside the hotel there's a harbour, and there's a harbour wall where there are boats, and there are, a lot of people were swimming off the wall. So I said to Stacey, let's go, and we'll jump off the wall. But when we got to the wall, it's about 2 times her length. It was about 10 feet to the water, maybe, and the water was quite deep. We got there, I said, let's go, and I dived, boom, into the water. And then I looked up at her, and she said, no, I'm scared. I said, all right, I'll climb out and I'll jump with you. And I dived again. And then there's the bit you stand on, and then there's a wall that's about 3 feet from the edge, if you like, and that's about 4 foot high. So I climbed up onto the wall, and I dived off that about 14, 15 feet from the water now, and I thought, her seeing me doing that stuff might show her nothing to be afraid of, So I just dived and I got out, and she said, no, because I can't see the bottom. I said, well, how about I wait in the water for you, and you jump, and I'll be right there to grab you, because she can swim, So after some serious persuasion, hi Robert, she jumped, and she jumped with fear, and it didn't go so well. She was all right. I grabbed her, she was fine. She didn't drown, didn't splutter, didn't nothing, but she felt like she did, and that was a worry for her. And how it relates to us, I said to her afterwards, obviously I gave her a hug, and I said, don't worry, you don't have to do it again. You've done it once now, and you've swam, because we had swam a lot up before that. I used the line, I've heard this line in a movie, though for the life of me I can't remember the movie, but I'd love to, because I'd watch it again. It was an Australian movie, and the line was, a life lived in fear is a life half lived. And I thought, well, why wasn't I afraid? Because if you check the news, everybody, Loch Ree, R-E-E, that's where we were swimming. And on that very day, a young man of 15 drowned. He drowned in exactly the same loch that we were swimming in, maybe half a mile across the other side. But that's where he drowned. Very sad. And, sorry for the loss for the family and everything. But it shows you it can happen even in, it's not quite still water, there's a breeze on it, it's a moving loch, it's a lock system, if you like, Strictly Ballroom. Is that the movie, Heath? Thanks for that. I must look. I don't think so, because it wasn't about dancing, it was about a bank robbery. But anyway, I'll look it up. Maybe it was in both movies. But yeah, somebody drowned half a mile from where we were swimming, and I'm telling my daughter, relax, just dive, jump, it's okay, it'll be a load of fun. And it was, for me, but I've got no fear. And I wonder, is that just it? Is it just because I don't have any fear? Is that why I do so well? Because I don't have any fear? But I don't think it is, because when we trade, I say, if this is going to happen now, and then it happens. We do that together. And if it doesn't happen, then we're not doing anything. And that's a thing, isn't it? So, I'm going to read Anne's agree. Strictly Ballroom, says Anne. Okay, thanks for that. I'll look it up. Thank you. Now, this is Anne's 4th of July Saturday ponderings. Another job or another life? One of the most interesting conversations I had this week wasn't with a trader, it was with a taxi driver. He said something we've all heard before. We should work to live, not live to work. Simple, obvious. And yet it stayed with me because it made me wonder whether the same thing is happening in trading. Many of us turn to trading because we're searching for freedom. Freedom from the commute, freedom from the clock, freedom to decide how we spend our day. We see images of people trading from beach cafes, mountain cabins or little French villages, and we think, that's the life I want. Then, somewhere along the way, we forget why we started. We learn how to trade, we learn risk management, we learn psychology, we learn discipline, but nobody really teaches us what to do with the freedom once we've earned it. Most of us grow up following a familiar pattern. Study, work, achieve, repeat. Somewhere along the way, we quietly absorb the idea that every spare moment ought to be productive. So, when we become traders, many of us unwittingly build exactly the life we were trying to escape. We swap one desk for another, one boss for another, one timetable for another. We still rush lunch. We still measure our worth by productivity. We still tell ourselves we'll slow down one day. Perhaps that's why I find the French attitude so appealing. In Britain, we often joke about grabbing a sandwich. In France, lunch is still treated as part of life, not an interruption to it. The meal isn't getting in the way of work. It's one of the reasons for working. Yesterday, while waiting for an operation that was eventually cancelled, I found myself thinking about something completely different. Not trading, not the mortgage, not France. I was designing my lounge, or rather redesigning it, not as a sitting room, but as a doing room, a place for books, writing, games, thinking, reading, conversation, a room designed around living instead of simply passing the time. It struck me then that perhaps this is what trading was always supposed to allow for. Not more hours in front of a screen, but the freedom to decide what fills the time after we close the laptop. We've spent years learning how to earn money. Perhaps it's time we learned how to spend freedom. Freedom is measured by the joy we find in the time we have. I'm beginning to notice that some of the traders I admire seem to understand this instinctively. James, that'd be me, has cancelled some of his summer trading sessions so he can spend long weekends with his daughter. Peter spends time putting the world to rights at his over-70s coffee club. Bob's enjoying days out on his daughter's new boat. None of them have stopped being traders. They're simply spending their freedom. Maybe the cancelled Friday session shouldn't be absorbed back into the normal working week. It should be protected. I love that. Learning to enjoy freedom isn't something we postpone until we've made it. It's a habit we begin practicing today. An hour to read, to play, to meet a friend for coffee, to write, to think, to simply enjoy the freedom we worked so hard to create. Trading isn't just about earning a different income, it's about earning a different life. The greatest risk may not be failing as a trader, it may be succeeding in building a life we never actually wanted. So perhaps the question we need to ask ourselves isn't, can I become a successful trader? It's this, am I simply applying for another job, or am I choosing another life? That's the end of Anne's Saturday Ponderings, and I think it brilliant, especially when we now look at the challenge yourself to manage yourself topic that I designed for us. I've tagged this onto the end of our reward to risk gates system. So there's the gate system, as you all know. You've all seen this many times. Thanks, Anne. Judy says, love it, Anne. And Anne says, very well read. Thank you. It's beautifully well written, Anne. I just am amazed. And the latest one you posted, Saturday Gone. Oh, wow. I've copied and saved that as well. Thank you. So the challenge here, if we have a look at this, it's starting bank, and there's a sensible number in there, be they pounds, euros or dollars, there's a sensible small number. And the ideal challenge is to take you from this number to this number, £10,000, euros or dollars, in small bite-sized pieces. I saw this image somewhere, I think it was on LinkedIn. Part 1, 10 trades risking 50, I'm going to say $bucks, $50 per pip, per trade. Okay, so that's at $5 per pip, that's a 10 pip risk, isn't it? You lose 10 pips, you must stop, and you don't proceed if you've 2 losses back to back. So how do we get to the 10,000? Well, we start by aiming for 1,000, which is twice what you started with, but you must win the 1,000. So if you're risking $50 risk, 100 bucks target per trade, 2-to-1 reward risk, splitting the risk in 10, targeting 200 pips at $5 a pip. 200 pips, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, isn't ridiculous. It's 40 pips per day. 40 pips a day, 5 days per week, and it don't take you an hour to get the 40 pips. Someone's going to say, oh, of course it does. It took me 3 weeks to make 40 pips. Well, over the weekend, a kindly gentleman, a gentleman I think highly of, named, can I name you? I'm sure I can name you. Can I name you? Robert. Yeah, you know what? I'm just throwing your name in there. I won't say your surname, but Robert said to me, he sent me a text and he said, where is the video for the H pattern? And I said, it'll be the latest one on the YouTube, Robert, but I'll go over it again on Monday. Here it is Monday. There's 2 things in that. One, I replied to messages over the weekend. Well, why not? He's Robert, he's in the group, he's a good egg. I'll answer anything, especially trading. I'll always talk trading. And now, as we look at a GR40 chart in the background from this very morning, if I move him over there for a moment, just remember 200 pips is 40 pips a day over 5 days. There is the H right there. I'm going to draw around it. Look, we've got an outside bar on the left, an inside bar in the middle, and an outside bar on the right. So this guy is a very engulfed. I do an H pattern like that. I've gone and drawn a circle around it, but that's me little H. Outside, inside, outside. I'll clear those drawings for a minute so you can see it clearly. This bar is a big one. Okay. That one's the inside bar, basically, and then we get an engulfing bar. In this case, it's bearish engulfing. I don't care. That pattern for me represents an H, and very, very often an H is bullish. Yes, I'd prefer it if this bar here was green. Do I care? Not really. It's an H. And then if we just use the DE, the dynamic edge, the DT2, whatever you want to call it, there is a hopper. There is a break above the white line, and there is a green bar. Notwithstanding that, if I put the pip counter on it and I say, you're the very next bar to close over one of our significant lines. Look, everybody, a significant line, a pink one. He closed over that line, didn't he? Okay, we're looking for 40 pips a day. How many pips is it to the top of that bar? Oh, look, 42.5. There, and if you draw a fib, there's more and more and more than 40 pips. But just there, right after an H, is a 40 pip trade. Let me bring that spreadsheet back in. What do we need? Well, we need 5 of them to make this number. So your first 10 trades risk $50 bucks at $5 a pip, 10 pip stop, 20 pip target, but obviously 42 pips takes you through a gate, or if you like, it gives you 2 trades in the bank. So now, or 1 trade in the bank, that's day 1 done. Part 2 is 10 trades risking $100 bucks. And that means you move up to 10 bucks a pip. You still want 200 pips, and that will give you £2,000. Trade, or part 3, 10 trades risking 200. Note, you're doubling your requirement or your risk. You're doubling your risk each time, but if you take 2 losses back to back, you must stop and go back to the beginning. Use it like you would the gate system. Part 5 then, I know I'm skipping through, but it's fairly self-explanatory, isn't it? 10 trades risking 500 bucks per trade, 50 bucks a pip, 10 pip stop, minimum 20 pip target, and there you end up with 10 trades at hitting the $1,000 anyway. 200 pip, the 10,000 bucks. But in the meantime, you've made 1, 2, 3, 7, 15, 25. You'd be up to 25 then. I'll share this spreadsheet again. I've just tagged it onto the back end of the gate system, Robert, so yeah, I can drop it in there. But it's challenge yourself to manage yourself for a reason. Because if you don't get it right, reset. If you're not getting it, if you're not getting your 20 pip or 30 pip or 40 pip wins, if you take a 10 pip loss, stop. You'll be down to 450. But ring me and let me know. What's the risk on a margin call at that level? Well, bear in mind, Mark, many of our members are trading already at 50, 100 and even £200 per pip. Okay? So the margin is down to the individual broker. If you've got a 1 to 30 or 40 times margin, yeah, you need a phenomenal amount of money in your account to be able to trade 50 bucks a pip. But if you've got a 1 to 500, and I know you do, that isn't a silly margin. You probably only need 2,500 in your account to be able to trade at 50 bucks per pip. And I'm telling you, you shouldn't. You should wait until you get down to here. Yeah, relative. It is absolutely relative. Remember, once you get down to part 5, you will have achieved part 4. You can only get to part 4 if you've achieved part 3. You can only get to part 3 if you've achieved part 2. And you can only start part 2 if you've completed part 1. So by the time you've completed part 1, you've got 1,500 in your bank, at least, because you'll never be bang on 40 pips per day. You'll end up with 205, 207, 209 pips perhaps. But if you don't got at least 200, you can't move to part 2. By the time you get to part 2, you've got 1,500. By the time you finish part 2, you've got 3,500 as a minimum. By the time you've finished part 3, you've got 7,500 as a minimum. That's my point on it, and that's about managing yourself. So yeah, this is go for it. This is absolutely go for it. Without fear. Why without fear? Because it is small enough. If you lose 50 bucks. If you lose 50 bucks off of 500, yeah, you've lost 10%. But it's 50 bucks, people. It's not a big deal, really. That's the really, you know. How do I apply this for me with my 10 pip goal? In exactly the same way, Judy, once you hit 200 pips. So if you're going for 10 pips a day, but remember I was with you the other day and you got 40, I think. Didn't you? You got something ridiculous on Thursday. What did we get? One trade nailed you how many? Okay, so you need 20 days, basically at 10 pips a day. You need 20 days to achieve this and move forward another 20 days. That's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 days. Third of a year if you like. Yes, sir, she says 40. Okay, so you did 4 days work. You only got 16 days left. Nice and easy. And again, there's 40 pips in there on the DAX. If we get rid of him for a moment and we change this now to, let's say, the Dow. I've been quite liking the Dow of late. And we have a look. Well, it's a no-brainer, that, isn't it? There's more than 40 pips in there, but let's just see the wherever and whatever and where the breakout piece are outside. I don't know. We'll go from that one there. We'll put him there and we'll drag, where's this side? Oh, okay. So I need the whole thing down a bit to bring him down here. And there you go, there's something like 114 pips. You can't have it all in one go. But if we move up to this one, a counter indication long, there's a 70 pips to the pink line. It's a 40 pips. There is nothing major, really. There you go. He says, do one thing every day that scares you. I'm struggling to find something that really scares me enough that, you know, because we've tackled this question before about fear, remember? And I said, you're afraid of yourself. You control the stake. You put the stake in. Yeah? You control the entry. So don't enter late and don't enter too early. You control everything. What are you really afraid of in trading? Well, then it's you, isn't it? You're afraid of doing something daft. Why are you afraid of doing something daft? Because you know you've done something daft in the past. Otherwise, you wouldn't be afraid of stuff in the past. Give an emergency express card. I wouldn't worry. And I've used only 7 of my 9 lives. I've got at least 2 left, I'm sure. There you go. Judy says, trading scares me, so I'm good. I'm afraid of my own self. Yeah, absolutely. You must be. If you're afraid when you come to trading, you control the stake, you control the entry. What are you scared of? You're scared of you then, because what? You're not in control? Well, you are, but you feel like you're not. You feel like the minute you push the button, the control's taken away from you. But the stats, the divergence, the rejection of a line, big round number, with tweezer bottoms and a RTF hopper combo, thank you very much, it's pips. Oh, well, yeah, she's already got that, Judy. That's the reality. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of it. It's I won't go into it in the recording. I'll explain when I end the recording. But there you go, everybody. Absolutely 40 pips a day, an hour. Really, in every hour that we look at on the Dow, there is potential to take 40 pips in a signal. That's it. There really is, be it a fib or a full-on signal. The fears we don't face become our limits, says Heath from Robin Sharma. Sounds fair. I can't argue. So yeah, this weekend there was a drowning very near where we were swimming, and I still made the dives and the jumps and the splashes and the swims, and I didn't let nothing put me off and ruin my fun, you know. I don't think we should allow fear to limit us. Fear should not be a limiting factor for any of us. There is a red, green classic colour change that we've looked at how many times, people, please? Classic colour change and a fib. How many times do you have to see the same thing? Rejection. High test bar rejecting the 38.2. First target, second target. How many pips is in between the first and the second target there? Let's just see. From the classic colour change and the break below there, I'm going to go 20 pips. Okay, there's 10% of what you need for your gate. And all the way, yeah, well, we can't count that. because you never can. But there it is. That's the reality. It's always safe, it's always sensible, and it's always doable. And the only problem is yourself, because you don't trust you. And why don't you trust you? Because you're doing something daft. He says, I took 12 off the first, 12 pips here, and 21 off the second. That's 33. You got 7 pips more, and you've done your day's work, haven't you? You're well on the way to completing your challenge. You've all been with me in the live sessions. The challenge shouldn't be an issue to any of us, really. Once again, apologies I couldn't share my ugly mug, but I'll try and make a plan for that in time for next week, Monday. And thank you all very much for watching. I'll end the recording here, but then I'll answer some of those other questions. And so for anyone watching the recording, enjoy, trade safe, and I'll see you on the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.